This is Cadillac Unscripted on 107.9 CDY. We are here, and Katie, I've lost count. This may or may not be episode 200.
Whoa.
I'm going to have to take a look. It might be next week. You know what? I remember. Next week is episode 200.
Feels like yesterday.
So it's 199.
Okay. That's a lot of hot air, my friend.
From whom?
From both of us.
All right. And every show has been sponsored by Independent Bank, and we appreciate their sponsorship so we can talk about great things going on in the community. And today we're going to do just that.
It's like a big reveal for me.
It kind of is. Although the Footliters did go public with this just a few days ago on Facebook. But there's only so much you can get in the Facebook post. You don't want to get too long-worded and windy because people will
you'll lose them.
You'll lose them.
Well, and you don't get to have a conversation with the boss of the Footlighters. Okay?
Exactly.
And you don't get a question and answer session with Joe Baumann. So welcome, Joe.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Glad to have you here so you can share your good news on the radio.
Well, for episode 199, I mean, I really thought this was worthy of 200, but I'll be where I have to be.
Okay,
we're so pleased to be here.
We'll rerun it next week.
There you go.
There you go.
199 and 200.
Yes.
Well, we are just so pleased and excited to share with the community that we've finally purchased a building after just about 20 years homeless.
Incredible. You've been bouncing all over the place. Of course, everyone loved to host you too.
Yes. Well, and we will still be hosted. God willing, we still have our partners in the community that are willing to have us there. But we needed a home base, and that was really the first need that we needed to meet. And so, we've been renting from Caps for years, and we really appreciate them. I mean, they've been storing all of our stuff, and it's going to turn into housing very soon. And so we needed to move. And so sometimes necessity is the mother of invention or something like that. So we could no longer let perfect be the enemy of the good. Okay. And we found something really, really good that we're really excited about.
So where?
So it's it's actually in Herring Township. Okay. It's just off of Boone Road. Right behind the Restore, the Habitat Restore.
Oh, sure. Okay.
It is a large 4,500 square foot kind of pole barn. It's a fancy pole barn, I guess I would say.
Okay.
But it's going to be the home for our building operation, our storage, and actually rehearsal space, which we're already rehearsing in. We just bought it last week, and we've got set on the ground for our next show coming up in January, and we're already rehearsing.
Incredible. Boy, you turned that around quick.
Yes. Well, and our main builder, Derek Singalub from Doug Glass, who's a fantastic human and loves this part of the arts, he's happy to be next to the Restore because he buys so much there. So
two-stop shopping.
Exactly. Right. Mm-hmm. And we get to help Habitat as well, which is always a great thing.
Excellent. So your first production, the next production is going to be at this location?
No, we don't anticipate performing there. It's at least for the moment. I mean, we've got over an acre of land. It's a beautiful building. It could be the start of something bigger, but it's not likely to be a performance space. But what it will do is it's going to permit us to build on site and rehearse with our sets, which has not been something we've been able to do before. So this next show in January is in McBain, beautiful theater, but at best we'll get a week and a half on the stage.
I see.
And this is a very complicated, 9-door set on 2 levels, and to have most, if not all of it, built before we get there will be huge. Mm-hmm. And as Rich said appropriately, they let me write part of the Facebook post, and I do get a little long-winded, especially when it comes to Footlighters. But this will give us an opportunity to improve our product and be more efficient, which I think, especially with a volunteer-centric organization, makes it more fun. Mm-hmm. Because if it takes you less work and you can do better work and people enjoy it more, it's just overall, it just takes you less effort. And effort is the thing that there's finite amounts of. And so if I can get more out of the amount of effort we're putting in, everyone wins.
You're more efficient.
Yes. And effective, hopefully.
Can you go ahead?
The organization has kind of been couch surfing, so to speak, since the Cadillac Area Public Schools auditorium was undergoing renovations. They're about to do a ribbon cutting on the auditorium here between now and Christmas time. When is there a show that you have already with a red star next to it that it will return to the auditorium?
We plan to return in March.
Okay.
The middle of March for Our Town will be the first show that we'll do back at Caps. And I think that that's all inked and set on the schedule.
Okay.
Joe, tell me about the journey to ownership, because it's been a minute that you've been looking and fundraising, and when did it start? And then how many venues would you say you vetted?
Well, it's interesting for an entity that we're now in our 60th season, much like, the 200 episode of your show will be. But, we're in 60, you're in 199. That's fine. But 60 seasons, the theater burned down in 91. The Footliters bought the old church on Selma, and we sold it in 2003.
Okay, so Joe, that's 20 years. How do we get here?
Well, that's the most recent 20 years, right? The group itself been around for 60 seasons. The theater burned down in 1991. Bought the church in 2003-ish. Sold it not long after that. Bought property on Mitchell Street right next to Blue Heron, which we are selling to Blue Heron as part of a great community partnership that we're really excited about. And they are to do some expansions, hopefully, in this post-pandemic sort of world. Mm-hmm. But that journey with our community partners has told us all the time, really, where are we going to be for the long term? What is this group going to be for the long term? And in my opinion, it cannot sustain itself without some form of home. And so this journey to find a home could either be, I would love it to be performance space, building space, storage space, all together. But when we think realistically, and I think the group itself over the last 5 to 10 years has taken swings at a number of different buildings that may have either been too small or too big, or too difficult to make everything we want them to be. And right now, in this point in time, CAPS is getting ready to sell the Cooley properties where we have kind of lived, or at least squatted for the last 15 years, much to our happiness. We were so happy to have it available, but it's not an option anymore. And so it's kind of like pushing the baby out of the nest, and we're going to see if we can fly. And so we bought this beautiful property that is built well and we think can sustain us until that next step, so that we can be more efficient, be more effective, and then also continue. That will, I believe, improve the product even more, which will get more people in the seats, which will make more money, which will make the next steps even more possible.
One thing I've noticed over, I would say, probably the last 2+ years is new actors. Can you talk about that? Do you have a lot more people auditioning than, let's say, you did when you first joined the organization?
Well, it's twofold. One, I would say it all depends on the show.
Okay.
The first show that was playing when I showed up to town in 2016 was Into the Woods. They had 70 people audition.
Okay.
That's incredible. Into the Woods gets people to come into the woods really heavily. But I think it is fair that new faces who either haven't done theater at all or whose kids might have been involved in theater, and our youth program gets them connected, which is half of the point of the youth program. But we're seeing more involvement or renewed involvement. People who were in, say, the last group to kind of build the Footlighters are coming back and getting involved again. And I think that's definitely true. And as we move into other areas, like McBain has brought new audience members, it's brought new involvement. And then people from Reed City, we're seeing more of that. We have a gentleman who's from Harrison who's in our next show who just, keeps an eye on our social media. And so some of those things are success begets success.
Yeah,
not just in quality of programming, but in the people who want to be involved in your programming.
100%. And I think that's what we're all seeing as we come to these shows. It's like, wow. I mean, we're going to start drawing, and already have, because the word is out about the Footlighters.
That's part of what we want to build, because once you bring in more people to audition, your quality goes up, because now you're good actors, and your whatever can take time off. They can be involved backstage. We can improve other aspects of the show, and you're not relying upon just your very finite group of people.
What I appreciate about what the Footlighters have been doing in recent years is reaching out to the youth, to the youngest members of our community, to the teenagers, because you obviously see that those are the people who are going to keep it going in the years to come.
Yes. It's both the best reason we exist and also cravenly cynical. Because the craven cynical side is it makes money. Lots of kids come out because they want to be part of it. But the really exciting part, the reason why we do it, isn't the craven cynical reason. that's a value, but the reason we do it is because it builds more successful adults. It builds community in a way. It engages youth in another activity. Maybe they want the tech side. Maybe they want to be on stage. Maybe they will never be on stage again. But you give an opportunity to an 8-year-old or a 17-year-old who's never done it before, and we've seen this every year. There were 55 kids in Junie B. Jones. Half of them had never been on stage before. And Rich, that's one of the most exciting things. We talk about engaging, enriching, and entertaining. The unofficial fourth E is educating. And the things we're able to teach and the things we're trying to impart to kids and parents is not just how to be comfortable in front of a group, but how to be professional, how to show up on time, how to listen to your directors, to do what you're told.
How to find your passion.
Exactly. Yes.
And I will tell you that from being in the classroom and teaching kids how to edit and how to shoot and how to tell stories. When you see that light go on, you know you got them. And you know that they found something that they can take with them the rest of their lives.
Right. And also they're part of the magic. The magic is happening.
Yes. Well, and I did my first show when I was 10. I know what this feels like. I know how it unlocks you. I mean, sure, there's part of me that's probably always was going to be gregarious and loud because my family is gregarious and loud. But you put me on stage and my brain is in a different place. And in a way, I have lots of, we see it with kids a lot too, anxiety and, whether it's social media or the things that weigh on us all every day, adults and kids. You get on stage, you got to leave your phone off to the side.
Yes.
And there is nothing I love more than leaving the afternoon to the side and bringing kids in and trying to build, I think, Rich, too, build a community among the community that accepts people for who they are, where they are. And that's really important to us. A safe space that gives them a chance to, maybe it's not be the lead, but could you be somebody who makes the show better? Unquestionably, it's true.
And you don't have to necessarily be on stage.
Yes.
You can be part of the team by being part of the tech folks.
Oh my gosh. I will teach people lighting. I will badly teach sound. Rich, I need you to come in and maybe teach me some sound. But we are doing these things kind of as we go. And people who could learn. I mean, luckily we have a builder who loves to, Derek loves to build sets. It's just a passion for him. He doesn't do it on a regular basis. He puts in windows for a living. But I like to do lights. I'm not very good at it, but I'm trying every time. So somebody wants to come out, whether they're kids or adults, that's our next path. That's using volunteers, not just using, that sounds so transactional, but finding volunteers who want to be involved off stage, backstage, in ways that are as artistic as on stage. They just don't get as personally appreciated as everything on stage.
It's so important to thank all those people when you're in a production.
Oh my
to
gosh.
Say thank you for helping us be what we were.
I've joked that a bad lead can ruin a show, but it's everybody else who makes the show.
Sure.
Great ensemble who all are doing, our great show, Mamma Mia, that had record audiences, amazing. The product that we put on there was because of the ensemble. Sure, Kelly was an amazing lead, but there were so many others that made it happen. And without them, it just doesn't.
Yeah, you're part of something larger than yourself. Every single person involved in it is part of something larger than themselves, And I do think everybody that shows up for, especially there's this new level of professionalism is what I would say. And I think to be a part of it in any capacity, you realize you are accountable to the other people involved. And you don't want to be the person that misses the mark, not even necessarily the cue, but the lighting or the set or you want to be a part of something great because you guys have set expectation.
And I want to keep setting it higher and higher.
Okay.
That to me is what keeps me coming back. I love being on stage, and that's probably 80% of why I do it, because I want the entity to exist so I could continue to do it close to home. But I know what it brings to the community, and I know the increased numbers that we see, and we see audience members appreciate it for what it is, not just because it's art in the community, which I love that. I'm glad people come because they want to support art, that we have lots of opportunities for that. But I like that some people say, I come to everything you do because I know it's going to be good.
Right.
And that's what we're trying to build. And that's what nobody wants to let down. Because building credibility takes you years. Losing it takes you moments.
Yeah, absolutely. Talk a little bit, if you would, Joe, about your visits to McBain, to the Ellen Boss Performing Arts Center, because that introduced Cadillac people to that venue. and that was purpose built for. There was a lot of money that was put into that, and I know Dwayne Ellenboss is a McBain guy, and he's a big supporter of Career Tech, and he's a big supporter of the community, and his name is all over that, and he's not one who wants the attention, but that's a gem that was built out there.
Unquestionably true. Yeah. It is a beautiful place that is properly supported. That's another thing, the school district, it's one thing to build a beautiful site,
but you got to maintain it.
You have to carry it, and you have to have good people. They've got great staff who are involved in it and take it seriously and care about the product they put together. It is appropriately a lot more expensive to rent out there. It's a different site. It costs more to carry it, and the experience though that you get to have with a wider stage, a deeper stage, something that's more conducive to a bigger, a brighter product. And now we're going to see some improvements that I haven't seen yet at CAPS that I'm very excited to see. And I hope that they talk to McBain or others to really put in the right things to make it a long-term opportunity. It's a very small stage, and that didn't change. And so my hope is that some of the other investments will make it an even better place to be. I know that's definitely true in McBain. And people, you can see it from the way the seating is raked. There's not a bad seat at McBain. There are some bad seats at CAPS, but that's a problem I hope to have, that we have so many people in the audience that they say my seat wasn't great.
Right. Because the whole thing was sold out, standing room only. Joe, with money were no object, because now you've got a home base. But if money were no object, what next?
If money were no object, it would be a performing arts and community space downtown Cadillac, where the community and the Footlighters could coalesce around space that could be useful for the landing, for Up North Arts, for the Northern Lights Readers Theater, etc., and could also be available to the community to rent, corporations, those sorts of things, but could also bring people downtown to the restaurants and bars, because that to me is where this business downtown development can come together. That's where we should be to perform. I love having a connection with CAPS, because I think it makes CAPS it connects us to the school system, which to Rich's point connects us to education, which connects us to youth, which I want to strengthen the high school program, because I think it strengthens Footlighters and I think it strengthens kids. And the more Footlighters we can have a cooperative and kind of coalescing relationship, the better. But I think if money was no option, object, we would have our own site on or around Mitchell Street of 200 plus seats.
Does that building exist in a form that could be remodeled now, or would it have to be built?
It would. That's a great question, Rich. It's one that I've thought a lot about in my 7 years here. I think it exists. Okay. There are a couple of sites downtown that with enough money, you can make anything happen. One that I looked at that is a beautiful site, and it's been purchased by the good folks at Simply Delightful. They bought the old Oddfellows building. That one was just beautiful. Now, bringing it to code and bringing up the electric necessary to do it would have been a nightmare. I mean, the code alone was like $3 million was the number that I got. Now, Simply Delightful is going to use it for different things. It's a great thing for them. It's perfect. So I think, Rich, there are opportunities, I think, but you're really talking millions of dollars. And when you're talking a small nonprofit charitable organization in a small town, that's just not likely. And it's taken a lot for me and the board to recognize that what we need to do is take small bites, build in a sustainable, long-term fashion, that every time we take a step, we build on that step. We don't just jump and hope that it works out.
Right. Yeah. I love hearing about the collaboration with these other arts. That to me is wow, because you just never know who's going to have the hot button, or who's going to say, I feel strongly about this type. So I'm going to write it of performance. So I'm going to write a check for this. Certain people want to support their loves. And when they get into estate planning and stuff like that, it's like, okay, knowing that this is brewing, and that these organizations are all willing to work together, it could pull in more donors.
Yeah, you're definitely right. The struggle always is when you try to be everything to everyone, you fail to be anything to anyone.
It's so true.
And that's been a little bit of a struggle too. Up North Arts is a great organization. It's doing great things. They have a site. I don't think it's a great performing arts space. I want them to be great at what they do. And if we, at some point in the last 5 years, there's been some conversation of kind of space on one footprint that could be multiple things. So say you have different floors or something like that. That could really work. What I'm so excited about, it's really silly, but out north of Boone behind, our new building, we don't have to schedule with anybody. We don't have to call anybody to see if there's rehearsal. It's our rehearsal. It's our space.
Yes.
And that can work to a point with performance space, but and you have to walk that fine line. At CAPS, the kids get first dibs. That's how it should be. I totally get it. But at some point, you need space to be able to, spend it in your own time.
Right.
So.
I'm tickled for you guys.
We've got some time left here, so why don't we get a preview of what 2024 holds in store for the Footlighters?
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that very much. So our next show that we have to build this huge monstrous set for is Noises Off. Not enough people know about it, but if you're listening, go out on your streaming service and rent Noises Off. It's a movie with Carol Burnett, John Ritter, Michael Caine, Christopher Reeve. It's one of the original farces. It's a 2-level set. It's going to be one of the most beautiful things we've ever built. And we're building it intentionally to be beautiful and to show the community what can be done. It's going to be in McBain because we need the height. We need to go up 15 feet or more on this set. And the cool thing is, this little secret is, Act 2, you see it from behind the stage. And for your listeners, that means the stage has to turn 180 degrees. And that in and of itself is going to be part of the show. And I'm so excited. I've wanted to do this show for as long as I've known that show existed. And we're really excited to bring it to the Cadillac area. The show after that will be our first one at CAPS, back in the auditorium, our community auditorium. And that's Our Town, which everybody probably read in high school and either loved, hated, or didn't understand. Come see ours. It'll be beautiful. I'm certain of that. Sally Goggin and Meg Santangelo are directing that for us. And then our final adult show, actually. So we've got a youth show as well. But our adult show musical is Hello, Dolly. And that'll be in May, June time slot back at CAPS as well. And our final show of the season, our 60th season, is Newsies, the musical. It's a youth production, so it'll be our upper youth, the 14 to 18-year-old group. So, and right now we're starting to talk about season 61 already, which is our 24 to 25 season. You have to think this far ahead. It's unbelievable to me.
And why is that? Do you sit down? Do you talk at a big table and just have a discussion about what the wish list is?
Yeah, we've got a couple of people it's a great question. We've got a couple of people who love this conversation. Well, I love it, but I'm the president, so I try to let other people have the conversation and keep my opinions to myself. But they do. They sit around a table, talk about stuff they've seen, stuff they know. And Rich, something we don't have down on paper is we have a bit of a formula. I want to bring things that kids will love to do. And if they love it, it'll work out great. Things adults love to do, which are big musicals, and they make money. I want to bring something to this town every year that's different, that might lose money, that maybe we lose a couple $1,000s, but it was different. A Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, a beautiful show we did 3 or 4 years ago. It made money, but that's because word of mouth, people talked about it. So there's a bit of a formula where we try to do one musical, 2 youth shows, and then 1 or 2 others to fill in. I think variety is the spice of life, and it's also the spice of a decent theater season. I've seen theaters die because they do everything that people will see, and they keep doing it until they die.
It's so true.
Because unfortunately,
we know this one's a winner. Let's do it again.
Yep. And if you do big musicals all the time, at some point people stop watching musicals from the 60s. They want to see new things. And if you're not changing it up, I think you're not meeting the mission of being a community arts organization, of bringing something new and helping people see something also that they may have already seen. So yes, Rich, it's a combination of all those things. And then we all get together, and it takes so much time because you have to buy the rights. Then you have to find the space to do it. So we have to go to CAPS, we go to McBain, we figure out where we can fit these things in a way that really the community can appreciate.
Mm-hmm. And every once in a while, you'll do a smaller level show up at the Elks, or
yes,
you might do something at the Greenhouse. which you've done before.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we really love those too. One, we get to kind of share, a liquor license occasionally. People love to come out and have a drink and watch a show. We did the teen cabaret out at the greenhouse last summer, where we did Steel Magnolias up at the Elks. We loved using the North Room, which now is going to be a bakery. Actually, Wildflower Bakery is moving into there. But I love the opportunity to show the community a different space that maybe they could use for something else as well. But we did that show we did in the North Room was kind of in a thrust stage, so there were people sitting on all sides, different ways to see theater, to do theater in different shows that we don't want to put at Caps. You know what, 700 people seeing every night, seats for a show that 500 total people are going to see? That's one, economics, but two, it's you want people to see an intimate show in an intimate space.
Sure, that makes sense. And I remember that show at the North Room. We had Jay Simon in here and that was the show that nothing was in the same order, right?
Yes.
I remember.
Oh,
You remember
wow.
Jay talking about that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, 30 different skits, and they had people call out numbers, and they would just look at the back of
Yes.
it, and that's what they would do.
Yeah.
It was crazy. In fact, I did the pre-show speech every night, and I said, this is our crazy, wacky show. You may have not heard of it. You may walk out saying, what did I just see? But if you walk out telling others, what did I just see? Then we just succeeded.
Right.
We did what we hoped to do, to show you something different that was done well. That's our whole mission.
Diversity. I love it. Joe, did you deliberately, as president of the Footlighters, say on our 60th year, we're going to make a big move? Because this was a big move.
We did say that, but it wasn't about the building.
Okay.
It was about doing shows that were a combination of old and new and big, that we were willing to say, this is a celebration. Let's lose a little money. If people aren't into it, we'll know that. But we've showed them some things that they wouldn't see any other season. This building, it needed to happen. And thank God it did, because it happened at exactly the right time, during exactly the right show, that we were starting to wonder how we were going to build, where we were going to do it, and how it was going to work out. And for it to be the 60th season, it wasn't intentional, but I'm a believer that everything works out how it's supposed to. And this plan, this opportunity, the support we got in about less than 10 days from offer to closing was something we've not been able to do before. And so whether it was caused by season 60 or we were more willing to take a chance because of season 60, it's hard to tell, but it all came together.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Tell us where people can go online to follow the Footlighters journey, to follow, the shows, the casting, that kind of thing.
Auditions.
Yes.
Where do people go online to find out what the Footlighters are up to?
Thank you very much, Rich. So first place, Facebook and Instagram. Follow us, like us. That's where we're most effective at updating regularly. CadillacFootlighters.com is also a great site, and we keep it up very regularly. Also, our email address is there, info@CadillacFootlighters.com. It actually goes directly to me. So if you've got any questions after this 199th episode, you email me there. But that's really where we also want to engage new volunteers. This building is going to give us an opportunity to get people there at off times. Say you're retired and you like to build, and you wanted to do it at 2 p.m. That was never possible before. Now it is. I could have a group of builders who did that in the past, who want to keep doing it and do it for fun. Now we can do it. Email us, info@CadillacFootlighters.com, and follow us on our socials.
Oh, boy. There's going to be some volunteers stepping up.
That's what I hope to hear.
Joe Baumann is the president of the Cadillac Footlighters and has been our guest today on Cadillac Unscripted. Joe, all the best. Thanks for coming on and telling the community about these exciting developments. We appreciate it.
Anytime. Thank you so much for your support. Very much.
Cadillac Unscripted is sponsored by Independent Bank. Join us next week, same time, same station, for some more great local chat on 107.